Judge Napolitano on Fox and Friends
Yes.
called it radical new era of tyranny. Our article's up on Infowars.com showing that video by Paul Watson. We reported on this last year. People didn't believe us. I know WorldNet Daily did. We reported on it again last week. It wasn't until Drudge picked up our article and then picked up other articles, they finally covered it this week. Obama is doing stuff so over the top, people can't even believe it.
Well, and also behind a lot of this is this Podesta and his, center, the progressive center that Podesta has in Washington, D.C., this new firm that has been hired by the FCC to go in and conduct supposedly this study. And this is not an academic study. This is just a way of pressuring.
It's a way to snoop and then create a new fake report to bring in the fairness doctrine.
Precise, or to circumvent the fairness doctrine with an even more oppressive anti-First Amendment document. And the FCC is ready to write those rules. This group is called Social Solutions International. It's a firm headed by, it touts being Hispanic, woman-owned. But the firm has, again, strong ties to Podesta and his his progressive center in Washington, D.C.
Of course it does.
And these are, again, this is not a unbiased academic study.
And by the way, I'm glad you corrected me. It's much worse than fairness doctrine just over broadcast radio, TV. They're saying this is going to be print media.
All media. This is an attempt to have a new form of doctrine come in, which is local standards. In other words, if you're not fair to whatever fair means to,
if you don't want to teach 5-year-old boys how to wear dresses, you're not fair. Look at what happened with Feinstein last year. She said the feds want a law where they decide if you're a journalist or not and get protections. I mean, this is a war, and they've said they want it. Do you expect them to actually get away with it?
Well, they're going to try. I mean, the center is, again, you've got to go back to the Center for American Progress, which is Podesta's main platform. And that platform is pushing a lot of this agenda. Podesta is now a White House counselor. Obama's proceeding by administrative order and bureaucratic rule to impose anti-First Amendment, anti-Second Amendment, anti-Fourth Amendment regulations upon the United States that do away with fundamental constitutional values.
You guys are right there in Virginia by D.C. I mean, right. Can you imagine them sending in an Obama Democrat Party Media Matters operative who've already said they want to, quote, infiltrate and sabotage Patriot Media? And I mean, you cannot let these people in the building.
Well, the same with Infowars. I mean, they're Infowars and WND are both on the list to come in and say that we're not doing enough stories that are fair to, in other words, in agreement with the anti-First Amendment agenda of the LGBT community.
Oh, yeah, we are listed, for those that don't know, by the White House-run Media Matters. I mean, they talk about us every day. I mean, and they... Remember that memo 2 years ago that leaked that they want to, quote, infiltrate our groups? And quote...
Same with WND. We're both on a target list of this. And, when they talk about, the structural imbalance of radio or of TV or print broadcasting, what they're saying, or the internet, what they're saying is, we don't run enough stories that are like an Ed Schultz radio show that are waving the flag for the Obama administration, the LGBT agenda, all the, and the left is the intolerant. I think I keep going back to Jonah Goldberg's book on leftist fascism, and people forget the Nazis were leftists, National Socialists. You have the same kind of an idea for a corporate, bureaucratic, government, multinational corporate world that Obama's trying to create, in which there is no First Amendment, there is no Second Amendment or Fourth Amendment, no right to avoid unreasonable searches and seizures, no right to bear arms, no right to express an opinion which is contrary to the leftist socialist view of how things ought to be done. Otherwise, you're hate speech, or you're defined as committing a crime for what you believe, what you say, and what you write.
You are watching the best of the Alex Jones Show, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. Watch live at Infowars.com/show or become a member of InfoWarsNews.com and help us take resistance to the next level.
Obamacare comes in. It's designed to totally bankrupt the country. Ezekiel Emanuel goes on Fox and admits that, validates everything we've said. Death panels, doubling, tripling cost, written by insider crony capitalists that are anti-free market to shut down their competition. The perfect storm of corporate and socialist corruption coming together in a fascist model. And instead, no talk of repealing it. Boehner's up there. The Republican leadership's going along. This really shows if we can't repeal this, Katie bar the door, this is the green light. Why not start shutting down the alternative media? Why not set up checkpoints on highways? Why not have the NSA spy on everybody? I mean, haven't we reached the point that we either start impeaching or we start reversing or the precedent's set to go over the edge?
Well, I know that the Tea Party increasingly across the country, and by the way, the Tea Party is always branded as this is the right-wing extremism, as if these people were, the Tea Party were out, bomb-throwing anarchists, which is, these are people who care about the Constitution, largely, older, concerned about their retirement, concerned about the future of America, where our children and grandchildren are left with all this debt. The Tea Party, I think, is beginning to part ways totally, and almost going to outright warfare against the Republican Party leadership. The Tea Party is not Republican. It's fundamentally a constitutionalist movement, and it will only agree with the GOP to the extent the GOP supports smaller government, supports reducing
taxes. And that's why we've got the Republican leadership with Obama and the big trade federations pooling money to destroy the Tea Party, because the Tea Party is the only Americana resistance left. And if the people figure that out, it should be the new populist party, take over the Republican Party, and it's game over for these criminals. I mean, if the Republicans would use the cannon fodder they've got of how bad Obamacare is, we could destroy these socialist scum. But they won't do it, Dr. Corsi, and it's so frustrating.
Well, largely, they're in agreement. See, this is the problem. The book I wrote that got very little read because it was a I'm a political scientist. I did an analysis I spent 3 weeks traveling with the Romney campaign as traveling press, and I wrote What Went Wrong, which was an analysis of the 2012 presidential election. The problem is when the Republicans put forward these establishment Me Too Democrat candidates like Romney or McCain, or, now they're supporting, governor here in New Jersey. I mean, these are the whole ideas of these establishment Republicans, which are basically big business, spend money, internationalist, free trade, destroy the dollar, destroy U.S. sovereignty. I mean, John Boehner would go for a amnesty, new immigration bill in a heartbeat. And Mitch McConnell will be right there behind him. That's the problem. The GOP leadership is becoming a branch of the Democratic Party, and it's moving to the left, and rapidly doing so.
It is simply mind-boggling and mind-blowing. Well, as a top political scientist who I know has advised Fortune 20 companies, I'm not tooting your horn, people just need to know you know what you're talking about. Obviously, they're running around very scared of the Tea Party. Every time we get a leaked Democrat Party, billionaire meeting, they're worried about it. I have Bilderberg connections. They've been scared of it for 6-7 years. That comes up at the highest global councils. They're scared of the internet. They're scared of, quote, highly motivated individuals, passionate people that are into human empowerment. I mean, these are quotes put out by the Pentagon and groups, run by the globalists, of who they're scared of. They're scared of free, independent, Renaissance, 1776er, Thomas Jefferson, true liberals like you and myself. I mean, these terms mean nothing now, but we would be called liberals 235 years ago. More guns, more private property, more family, lower taxes, more for us, more freedom, more personal decisions. We're now being labeled the terrorist. We're now being labeled the enemy because we're not just dumb moron collectivist. Where does this battle go then? Because it's so incredible. What does your gut tell you, Dr. Corsi? Where's this going?
Well, the next thing I think is happening, is coming down the pike fairly quickly, is the complete destruction of the dollar. I mean, the inability to control our debt limit, the fact that we're going to hit $20 trillion with a T in national debt. The debt service on that is going to be enormous. And I continue to warn that the moment we quit buying our own debt through this QE policy, the quantitative easing, where the Federal Reserve, the central bankers, are buying our own debt, we're just printing money, money that is owned by the Federal Reserve, not by the Treasury. We don't own our own money. We're paying interest on this debt that we're creating.
And China is starting to move away from the dollar very quickly.
It's going to collapse as soon as the new Janet Yellen, head of the Fed, says that it sounds like she's backing off of printing money. At that moment, the stock market collapses. It started to when she took over, but immediately they propped up Janet Yellen, sent her out, made her say, "Oh no, we're going to keep printing money. We'll keep printing money and buying debt." As soon as that, this is the biggest bubble, I think, ever.
And there's no doubt about it. So how does it go down? What are the different scenarios? And what happens when it goes down?
When it goes down, the push is going to be to move to another global regional currency. The whole idea is to say, and look, just this past week, President Obama very quietly goes down to Mexico and holds the North American Summit Leaders meeting, which used to be Security and Prosperity Partnership. They're still pushing for free trade. They're still pushing for a North American Union. They just, because we got onto it, we criticized it. WND criticized it. InfoWars was on it. We were there reporting. The agenda was backed off publicly, but it never for a second slowed down. The urge to create a comparable to the EU, North American Union, to merge it all together in a transatlantic and trans-Pacific partnership, which again is slowed down because we, have pointed out that the destructiveness to U.S. jobs, the loss of sovereignty, and finally, some of the union groups are actually opposing these international trade groups. They're finally waking up. But the point is, once the currency collapses, and there's no way the United States ever going to pay back this $20 trillion debt. And all Obama can do is continue to generate more debt, more big government, more control over people's lives, more people dependent on government spending, and eventually the whole thing collapses. But when the majority of the population is dependent on government checks, then the collapse will be so frightening that the population will want to keep it going, even if that means going into a global governance that supersedes U.S.
Exactly. They'll say we have the new SDR, $100 trillion in new taxes, as Davos called for. And they'll say the new system will save you. You'll still have your dollar. It'll just be denominated digitally into this.
You'll have your Obama phone. You'll still have your food stamps. You'll still have your Social Security. Nothing's going to change. It's just you're going to be paid in a new form of currency, and the dollar is going to be retired.
And don't listen to these Tea Party people. In fact, they just bombed something today. We're going to have to start arresting them. And they'll stage false flags and then blame us. The globalists have controlled the mainstream media for a long time, but now they're expanding, making the weaponization even more vicious and deceptive. All the major networks are state-run.
We are partnering this year with the NFL.
The NFL has become a political weapon against the Second Amendment and pushes Obamacare. MSNBC tells us that our children belong to the state.
We have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities.
The brainwashing media machine has been turned up on high, and it's time for humanity to double down on the true people's media and strike back against the tyrants that are destroying our civilization with their lies and fraud. We are the resistance. You are the resistance. You are the info war. It is more important than ever to realize that we are not the alternative media. We are the true media. The establishment dinosaur press is dying.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
Join us at InfoWarsNews.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. Members can share their memberships with up to 11 people. By subscribing, you will literally be buying war bonds in the info war to expand our operation in the face of the tyrants. Join us at PrisonPlanet.tv.